Good afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'm going to be talking about the entirety of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Second Fighter's Pass and whether or not it's worth buying all 6 Challenger Packs in the collection as opposed to picking and choosing which of the Challenger Packs personally interest you. So this will be covering all the fighters as well as their stages, classic mode routes, just about everything. Now I've already done in-depth reviews for all of these Challenger Packs by themselves, so you can check them out on your own time. This is going to be more of a brief overview to see if you want to get the entire shebang. So without further ado, let's get to choosing. Leading the charge for Fighter's Pass Volume 2 is Min Min from ARMS. Now, ARMS was a fighting game that involved attacking your opponents from a distance with your overstretched arms. In the case of Twintelle, her hair, but Twintelle didn't get in. So we're going to be focusing on Min Min. Basically, her gist is that her standard attacks handle one of her arms, and her special attacks handle the other ones, which comes across as slightly underwhelming, because you can definitely switch her other arm, but if you have 2 dragons, then it feels kind of redundant, and it almost seems like it wastes a special move slot. Min Min is alright to fight with, but you constantly have to attack opponents from a distance, and it's usually not very practical to get up close and personal, so in, say, 8-player smashes or competitive tournaments, this might be seen as a slight downgrade. Her stage, Spring Stadium, has a cool gimmick where if the platforms are green, then you can sort of turn into a sonic spinball and attack the opponents with your own body. And even when hazards are turned off, the gimmick of having the ceiling being able to bounce opponents off of it is pretty cool. And when you have items turned on, then the items are those that appeared in the ARMS games, where the robots will drop the containers just like they did in an ARMS match. Her classic mode route has her facing against opponents that use their arms to fight, but there are also references to the ARMS characters, like having a gray Donkey Kong representing Master Mummy, for example. And a lot of her spirits were already in Ultimate, like Min Min herself had a spirit in the base game. So it seems like this could have been a lot better if maybe Smash had held off on a lot of the ARMS stuff, or even better, had ARMS in the main game to begin with and not wait so long. But I think it was the timing of the release of ARMS coming out in 2018 that made it a little bit harder to implement the game into the base roster, because they would have had to have like an early preview to be able to get it working. Then again, they made that work with Breath of the Wild stuff, so I don't know why they couldn't have done it here. Overall, I think Min Min was okay. She wasn't spectacular or mind-blowing. She had 18 songs, and 2 of the remixes were pretty darn good. But I know a lot of people are more concerned about having huge, amazing third-party characters joining the battle, so let's see what the rest of the pack has to offer. The second slot of Fighter's Pass Volume 2 goes to Steve from Minecraft. And even though I've never played Minecraft, I can tell that this was an insanely good choice, because as of the time of this recording, Minecraft is the most popular game in the world, and just about everyone knows what Minecraft is. In fact, Minecraft was so popular that my brother and sister took a homeschooling class just on Minecraft, so that they could increase their creativity. And now my brother's a carpenter, so that really paid off. Now, I've never played Minecraft, so obviously my love for the character was pretty much non-existent, and I found it really hard to adjust to how Steve fought, because a lot of it was based on crafting on the right surface to get the right materials you need, and making sure your crafting box was next to you so that you could make a more powerful weapon, so that you could have more powerful attacks against the opponents. Which adds a lot more environmental awareness to the stages, because you have to think about what surface would give you what material. But on the other hand, it's kind of slow and cumbersome when you're in the heat of a battle. However, I might just have to realize that I am not the target audience for this fighter, and the people who actually are Minecraft fans are going to be very, very happy. The music selection is extremely good, with 8 songs, and 7 of which are remixes. Unfortunately, when I tried to show my friends that were actually Minecraft fans the songs, they didn't recognize a single one of them, even though a lot of them said that they were from Minecraft. They were like, no, Minecraft's music is very slow and methodical, and this is not Minecraft music. So, from what I could tell, a lot of these were based on mini games and Minecraft dungeons, but they could have just said Minecraft Dungeons on the soundtrack instead of confusing me like that. Then the fact that the stage feels like it's almost ripped straight from Minecraft, and from what my best friend has told me, Steve's classic mode route, Journey to the Farlands, is a callback to the story mode in the actual Minecraft games. And the reason why the enemies constantly appear in groups is because the enemies would be weak, but there would be a lot of them at a time to swarm you. And the final battle was based on the Ender Dragon. And then for the spirits, from what I was told there, they did a good job of replicating the fights against common Minecraft enemies. My best friend really liked the Ghast battle because having Andros in the background seemed to really fit, in his opinion. So my enthusiasm of Steve is relatively low. I didn't really enjoy playing as him that much, but I imagine that Minecraft fans lost their mind over the announcement. So I think I'm going to give this a pass, even if I personally, if I had the choice, I would probably have only gotten it for the classic mode route, the spirits, and the stage. I think Minecraft fans will be pleased. The third slot of Fighters Pass Volume 2 goes to Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII. This is one of the most classic examples of this should have been in the main game that I have ever seen. Now, admittedly, I can see why they might have waited to put Sephiroth in, but Final Fantasy as a whole only had 2 measly songs before this. And it didn't even have any spirit battles. It just had the generic artwork of Cloud in his regular outfit and in his Advent Children outfit. They didn't even have the original artwork. They were based on the Smash models. So they just said, no, wait, we actually do have Final Fantasy content. We're just locking it behind a paywall. So that immediately is going to kind of downplay this particular pack's significance for me. That being said, better late than never. And I really liked playing as Sephiroth because he had this very slow, methodical feel to him, where you felt like he wasn't just a villain that was trying to, quickly destroy everything, but that he actually thought things through. Now, I've never played Final Fantasy VII, so I don't really have any nostalgic attachment to Sephiroth as a character. I just know that he has a really cool, super long sword, and his final smash feels like the opening of World of Light, which I've been told is very faithful to one of his maneuvers in the final battle of Final Fantasy VII. Now, his classic mode route is really hilarious because it's called The Chosen Ones, where Sephiroth basically does a boss rush of all of the World of Light and classic mode bosses, except for certain parties that I won't spoil. And from what I've heard, that's basically Sephiroth's character, is he's very much a you are too beneath me to fight. So of course he'd only fight the absolute toughest of the tough baddies. And I think that's cool that at least one of the characters got a boss rush. I mean, technically a boss rush already exists, but it's nice that they could tie it in with Sephiroth's character and then also have the One-Winged Angel theme playing during the battle against Master Hand and Crazy Hand. Sephiroth's stage isn't really mind-blowing, it's just a flat stage with 2 drop-through platforms on the sides, which seems to be a Square Enix thing. They seem to love their basic stages. But it has a really beautiful background that basically tells the story of what Sephiroth does in Final Fantasy VII, which I've heard could be a major spoiler for people that haven't played that. Thankfully, it's abstract enough for me that I had no idea what was going on. And so if I ever play that game, which I probably won't because I don't like random battles, I will probably be able to be relatively surprised as to what's going on. And it's also nice that once you go back and play on the Midgar stage, you can have the new Sephiroth music in. Now, my thoughts on the Sephiroth music were that I thought the remixes were amazing and the regular tunes were kind of sort of terrible, with One Winged Angel being okay. I kind of wished that there would have been remixes from other games in the Final Fantasy series. Like, for crying out loud, the series has been around since the NES, and you can only represent one game and a movie spinoff. I don't know. It seems like Square was being, ever so slightly stingy, or maybe the Smash team was stubborn. Whoever it is, they probably could have done better. But at the end of the day, I've also heard that Sephiroth is like one of the most iconic villains ever, apart from maybe Bowser and Ganondorf. And so people were also clamoring that they wanted more villains in Smash. So I think he was a pretty good fit. For slot number 4, we have another Nintendo rep, which probably angered a lot of people as well because they like to see the wild, wacky third-party franchises like Steve. And not only that, but this is the second slot in a row where an existing franchise was represented again. Now, to be fair, Pyra and Rex were originally considered as part of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's base roster, but the fact that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came out so late forced them to have to push it back to DLC. And even then, they tried to make Rex and Pyra a duo, but it was technically too much for the Switch to handle, so they decided, well, let's just have Pyra and Mythra swap out. Now, people who want to go into Xenoblade Chronicles 2 blind might not have liked that twist, but I do think it proves to be a decent gameplay addition, as if Pyra was in there by herself, as the initial reveal trailer suggested before you got to the fight against Link, Dark Pit, and Zero Suit Samus, that would have been pretty boring, because she's another sword wielder and doesn't really have a whole lot of unique moves. Now, I've heard that just about every maneuver that Pyra and Mythra do is straight from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but people picking up this pack on their own are probably not going to care. They're going to say, another sword wielder, but at least it's a girl. And at the very least, they gave Pyra tights so that she's not overly revealing as much as she was in her original game. I mean, she's kind of still disproportionate, but it's better than what happened before. And I'm a huge fan of the Xenoblade Chronicles franchise. I have actually played a decent amount of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and I was for the most part really impressed with the music tracks. Some of them leaned a little bit too hard into the rockish territory, but I also really liked the orchestra pieces, the environmental songs. I especially loved the Ship on the Stormy Sea and the Praetor Amaltus theme. Those were just, oh my gosh, some of the best pieces I've heard in gaming. Their classic mode route is slightly underwhelming, as you're more or less facing against characters who are alter egos of each other, and this could have been an interesting opportunity to explore the story of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but then again, that would lead into more spoiler territory, and you know how Smash is, they just love to spoil everything. So I was pretty pleased with Pyra and Mythra's inclusion. I hadn't played Xenoblade Chronicles 2 at the time that the pack came out, but now that I've gone back and given the game a try, I can actually really appreciate it. I think some people will probably be disappointed that it wasn't another surprising third-party rep, but if you're a fan of Xenoblade Chronicles, this was amazing to have more Xenoblade music, a really gorgeous stage, more spirit battles, even if it's also odd that Pyra and Mythra already had spirit battles of themselves in the base game. And I also think it's cool that they retroactively added the new Xenoblade 2 music tracks into the existing spirit battles as sort of a bonus. So, there you go. So overall, yet another pretty decent addition. And the fifth slot of Fighters Pass Volume 2 goes to Kazuya Mishima from the Tekken series. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, I had no idea who this guy was, and after I played as him, I didn't really get the hype around that either. I was just like, okay, we've already got Ryu, Ken, and Terry. Do we really need more fighting game reps? Now, to be fair, Tekken was developed by Bandai Namco, which is the company that developed Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So of course they'd want one of their own franchises. And considering that it must have been super easy to get the rights because they developed the game, that allowed for them to bring in 39 music tracks, none of which I particularly liked. At the most, some of the music tracks were tolerable, but barely. Like, I wouldn't go out of my way to listen to any of them ever again. And maybe if I had actually played Tekken, I would appreciate them more, but as it stands, it was kind of underwhelming. Then Kazuya as a character just wasn't really that much fun to play as. Now, I get that they were trying to be faithful to how he was in Tekken. The problem with that is that Smash Bros. Was designed to combat games like Street Fighter and Tekken for being too complicated, and it wanted to simplify the control scheme so that anyone could pick up a fighting game. And so what does the Smash team do for Kazuya? They go ahead and make him insanely complicated to play as, so that a lot of his signature abilities that separate him from Ryu, Ken, and Terry are locked behind really hard combos that Smash Bros. In general was designed to not have. His stage is visually kinda appealing. I'm not the biggest fan of Japanese aesthetics, but it definitely could have been a lot worse. And I also think it's neat that you can, like, break through the wall by smashing your opponents through it. And then his classic mode route is where he fights a bunch of fist fighters, and presumably there's also a reference to Tekken at the very end, because the final battle is actually not Master Hand and Crazy Hand, which I thought was neat because that is way too overused. And then his spirit battles were, again, probably Tekken related. I don't really know. Now, I happen to know a certain fan of my channel who is really pleased with Kazuya's inclusion, and he'll probably be disagreeing with almost everything I say in this. So, while I think Kazuya was kind of underwhelming, and I think even though a lot of people liked Tekken and it's a very popular Japanese fighting game series, I think fans are going to think that it's okay. I've heard that people who actually like Tekken are very impressed by the music tracks. I found it underwhelming, but hey, maybe that's just me. Let's see if the last Fighter's Pass manages to stick the landing, though. And finally, we have Sora closing out the Fighter's Pass. Everybody else on the internet has said this by now, and I'm probably gonna have to agree. Sora was a perfect choice to end the Fighter's Pass because Kingdom Hearts is an amalgamation of Final Fantasy and Disney characters coming together, and Smash is an amalgamation of several video games coming together. So I think that was really good. Not only that, but Sora he feels like the embodiment of what Smash is trying to be. A colorful, friendly romp with a bunch of anime sword-wielding characters. And guess what? Sora's another sword wielder. But yet no one is complaining because Kingdom Hearts is great. Now, I thought that Sora's stuff that came with his pack was pretty alright. I definitely think they probably could have done more because almost all of their focus was on just a handful of the Kingdom Hearts games. And not only that, but most likely due to complications with Disney or Sakurai's insistence that Smash be focused on characters that came from video games and not from other media, meaning that they couldn't really include any Disney representation. So a lot of the most iconic parts of the Kingdom Hearts franchise couldn't be represented, and instead you had the characters that were created for the franchise. Not saying the stuff is bad by any means, just that if you were hoping for a spirit battle of Donald and Goofy, well, you'll have to watch some of my other Smash videos where I represented Donald with Falco and Goofy with Banjo and Kazooie. If you have any better ideas for them, let me know, but that was my interpretation based on very limited knowledge of the franchise. Now, I haven't actually played a Kingdom Hearts game besides Melody of Memory because most of them either didn't come to the Switch or were on handhelds, and they were very watered-down versions of the main games. Although, from what I've heard, that's going to change. Admittedly, they're going to be cloud versions, but that's better than nothing. But one thing I was really disappointed in with Sora's music tracks was that none of them were remixes. What is with Square Enix being allergic to remixes? Dragon Quest didn't get any either. And just to add insult to injury, none of them were from Kingdom Hearts 3. Pretty much all of them were from the 1.5, 2.5 HD remix. And all of them were based on Kingdom Hearts 1, so nothing from Kingdom Hearts 2 or Dream Drop Distance. And not only that, but a lot of them weren't even orchestral. Sure, the songs from a composition standpoint were beautiful, and Yoko Shimomura does a great job making a melodic tune, but would it really have killed them to go the extra mile? Not only that, but if you don't have Melody of Memory, you only get 9 songs, which is abysmal, considering that ARMS, one game, got 18, and yet a whole franchise only got 9. But you get one song locked behind having to have Melody of Memory save data on your Switch, which I've heard a lot of people complain about because they don't want to bother getting a Kingdom Hearts rhythm game. I mean, I guess that's up to you. The song isn't that great. It's the Melody of Memory remix of the main theme of Kingdom Hearts 1, which I thought was pretty okay. Not terrific, but it was decent. So, overall, I think Sora was great. Probably not as good as he could have been if there hadn't been so many restrictions from Disney and Sakurai and who knows what else in the copyright holder district. But I do think that Sora was a pretty fun character to play as. His classic mode route was probably a humongous reference to the Heartless and the Nobodies in his series. And even though it was another lame battle against Master Hand and Crazy Hand, at least they changed up the music, and at least Destati got in. So, I think Sora probably wasn't as good as he could have been, but he still wasn't bad either. So, I'll give him a pass. So in conclusion, I personally think that Fighters Pass Volume 2 had some pretty cool characters and great music that came along with it. However, it didn't give the wow, this is incredible factor that Fighters Pass 1 did. Maybe it's just because Banjo and Kazooie were my number 1 picks, and you kind of really couldn't top that no matter how hard you tried, because how do you beat number 1? Unless, I don't know, maybe if they had put Phoenix Wright in there. Steve was, of course, definitely a mind-blowing inclusion, and Tekken was a pretty popular franchise, I guess, but it's yet another fighting game series in a game full of fighting game characters. And then Pyra and Mythra and Sephiroth were from existing franchises, so I'm sure a lot of people were upset about that. I think Fighters Pass 2 was alright. I don't think it was as grand and majestic as Fighters Pass Volume 1. Now, I don't know if that was because of COVID restrictions or something, or maybe Nintendo just ran out of ideas, or maybe they were trying to market stuff. I know they were trying to market the Kingdom Hearts games coming to Switch for that presentation, but marketing, we'll let corporate Nintendo deal with that. What matters first and foremost is if you have fun with these characters. And I think at the very least, Steve is worth a purchase for any Minecraft fans. Now, whether or not you should buy Fighters Pass Volume 2, I think ultimately it's going to depend on your love of spirits, classic mode routes, and music tracks, as with Sephiroth, you only get a boss rush. And with Pyra and Mythra, their classic mode route is somewhat uninspired, if not avoiding spoilery references. And again, Pyra and Mythra and Min Min already had representation in the base game, and they're just getting a little bit more representation. So, overall, I think Fighters Pass Volume 2 could be worth it, but I would say do your research into which of these franchises you actually like. Or if you're like me, and you just like more stuff to do, then you're gonna like it by default, no matter how good they are. So with that, thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or critiques, if you agree or disagree with my thoughts, let me know down in the comment section. And until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, God bless, and if there's ever a Fighters Pass Volume 3, which I doubt, but if that ever happens, I really hope Phoenix Wright gets in. Bye!